Welcome everyone to the Canadian Society of Organic Land Care, or SOLS, National Webinar Series for 2023. For now, I'd like to ask everyone to mute themselves, please. I'm Kristen Knoll, the new Executive Director of SOL, and I'm happy to be your host for this event. I want to start by acknowledging that I am coming to you today from Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and it'd be wonderful to see where everybody else is joining us from, so I invite you to do that in the chat box now. We can't do our work without support, and we gratefully acknowledge support from Gaia College, the leading school for organic land care professional development and diploma courses. SOL's membership includes accredited professionals, and SOL also welcomes public memberships who wish to support ecological and holistic land care. If you're not a member, please consider joining, and note that organic land care is the only accepted standard in Canada, and the SOL standard, which outlines principles, practices, and products, is available for free on our website, organiclandcare.ca. All SOL accredited practitioners follow this standard. This is the fourth episode of our 2023 webinar series. We have episodes scheduled every 2 weeks on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every month, we feature a theme that impacts our work, and May's theme is education in greener green spaces. You can find a full schedule of the webinars for the rest of the year on SOL's website, and make sure to register. At the end of the talk, we will open the floor for a question period when the speaker has done their presentation. You may ask questions via the chat during or after the presentation, or by unmuting yourself and asking the question directly during the question period at the end. This is a great opportunity to connect and share knowledge. Together, we can make more of an impact than working on our own. Please note that we will be recording these sessions, and they will be available afterwards on the SOL website at organiclandcare.ca. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming our guest speakers, Cheryl Hayes, Ben Harrison, and Alexandra Scarlett from the Irma Coulson Public Schools Climate Ready Space. So Cheryl Hayes is the principal there. Ben Harrison is a phys ed teacher that is very involved in the green space. And then Alexandra Scarlett is the eco lead. So I will let you take it away, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm Cheryl Hayes, principal of Irma Coulson Public School. I joined the school community in January of 2022 and have been part of the HDSB Evergreen team meetings, which oversaw the completion of the project and the opening of the space for our students. Being the principal of Irma Coulson, I see the immediate benefits to our students. They enjoy playing in this because of the interesting choices they have. Our students are learning how the natural environment supports their mental health in a positive way. What is fascinating to watch is how students interact socially. The dynamic of taking turns, exploring play options, and finding like-minded students to engage in the space together helps to build social skills and reinforces positive peer relationships. For children, it is an innate skill to be creative in their play. This builds collaboration, which builds relationships that are not previously obvious. Our students gravitate towards natural spaces, and the transformation of our school grounds has given students options to play that were not previously available to them. They walk and talk because there are pathways for them to do so without crossing the path of a ball game that's taking place. They can choose any number of activities based on their interest. The aesthetics of the space has a lot to do with attracting students' attention. It's a beautiful space. It's open. It's calm. Because of the different elevations, some areas are sheltered from the wind. The variety in design facilitates conversations as well as promotes growth and fine motor activities. Students who are interested in the natural sciences now have plants and creatures to look at and be curious about. Birds are nesting in the trees and ducks are nesting on the ground in the ground covering. It's so marvelous to see living creatures sharing the space with our students. In the burb, which surrounds the space, plants are coming out from under the winter blanket of dormancy, given the time of year that we're in now. The learning invigorates and stimulates the sensitive brain with the surrounding of nature. So the eco-friendliness of the elements soothes the emotions and promotes curiosity within our students. Being able to enjoy the space creates a sense of well-being. It creates joy. And what we're finding is that there are fewer conflicts, fewer issues between students, because it is a space that offers so much variety, so students can plug into what they're interested in doing and can always find a friend to share that interest. Even on a wet or snowy day, the field drains naturally to allow continued use. The blanket of snow is one more element of nature students use to build snow forts and snow people in the field. I've worked in schools with outdoor classrooms before, but nothing on the scale or this level of interpretation of landscape design and engagement with nature. This is a full transformation of the site. The natural elements such as rocks, wood, sand, and plants control how wind travels across the landscape and makes it special for students. Now, driving along Dairy Road, which is the main road beside our school, this schoolyard is a point of interest. It's designed for student engagement, but it also is an enhancement for the neighborhood. It's an interesting landscape to look at. During construction, we had to work with a very small play area, but we didn't, because we didn't have a field. For big events such as Play Day or track and field practices, which take place in June, we had to bus our neighboring schools to use the fields. We relied on our family of schools to support us while we were under construction. We also relied on the incredible patience of our staff and students. Everyone realized that we were in this together and any hardship would end soon. We had a big plan which required everyone's support for full realization, and everyone was all in. This contributes to the well-being of our larger community. This is a beautiful space for families to enjoy after school or on the weekends. It's a gathering place for when we have large school events that include the entire school community. The shift is very obvious in multiple ways. For example, we see an increase in foot traffic. Parents walk their children to school. They follow the path through the climate-ready space, which we call the park, to get to the blacktop. Before the completion, they walked by the area every day to see the progress of the construction crew. It attracted pedestrians, and so we have fewer families driving to school because everyone wanted to walk to school to see what was happening. Kids love to walk through the space, and they encourage their parents to walk them to school so they could do it together. The space, the way it's designed, guides walkers in very purposeful ways. There are different pathways to get to points of interest on the school property. The access points also create safety because there is an entry from Dairy Road, that main road I mentioned before, past the water pump, which is a water feature in the early years section. And so no one has to cross the cars in the parking lot anymore to get to the early years area. It also balances the traffic pressure on the Coulson Way, which is another of our streets. So students don't feel they are in a rush to get to school anymore. It calms the entry to school. Students are very motivated to care for the space and to treat each other well in the space. It is an expansive enough space with multiple games, multiple entry point for play. And so students find their own interest and friends who are interested in the same thing. outdoor education is readily available for our teachers to take their classes and to explore the space together. As the principal of Irma Coulson, I'm very grateful for the work that was done before I arrived. I'm so proud of how our staff has been committed to supporting the Sustainable Development Goals on reversing the effects of climate change. They have been engaged in professional development to learn how to maximize use of the space and to be champions for climate interruption. They're passionate about the work of outdoor education. The new staff are thrilled to be part of the learning and onboarding that is taking place. To support the focus on outdoor education, our teachers lead an eco club with a team of grade 3 to 7 students. The goal of Eco Club is to encourage more involvement in our student population in environmental initiatives and sustainability within the school. Getting students involved in things like waste sorting, conservation, planting to ensure food security, and education of the outdoor space will make an incredible impact for this generation and future generations. It's a shared common experience, and that instantly fostered a vested interest in the project. The Garden Club will be expanding the gardening beds and continuing the initiative of a community garden where parents and students tend the garden. As we speak, the seeds of the garden are being germinated in classrooms, and they will be transformed or transplanted rather into the garden beds. Students will be able to see the growth from seed to food or flowers. The creatures who thrive symbiotically with the plants will have as much benefit as the humans who interact with the space. I see our student leadership blossoming. The student body has had a strong voice in the consultation process of the design. The opening ceremony was a huge opportunity for our student leaders, and the ongoing use of the space encourages leadership. Our student ambassadors lead the tours through the space for our visitors. They take ownership for this collective investment in student education and well-being. Children are learning to take risks and engage in play opportunities they have never had. Learning to climb is one example. They test their balance and their courage to take a step beyond what they know. They're learning the space and learning how to navigate it and being a friend along and bring a friend along as they do so. What is fascinating about the space is that it evolves, it changes, the pathways change, and that changes because of the interaction students have within the area. It's also as if a portal has opened up and they are discovering it. Every day is a new excitement. After their professional development sessions, teachers begin to view the space with wonder and process the potential it offers for the delivery of curriculum. It's hard for one to imagine what one has never seen, so we invite education stakeholders to come and visit, to see what the space looks like and see how our student teachers and community use it, and then go back to imagine their own initiative for addressing climate change. It was very exciting working with Evergreen. The partnership was a very productive and positive one because we share a common goal that is rooted in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to address climate change. And therefore, it has been wonderful to watch, learn, and participate in this initiative. At the end of the day, when all is said and done and all the work is put in, we want our children to grow up in healthy communities. We want sustainable development initiatives in all our school communities, and we want spaces that promote healthy play. We want local spaces that support outdoor education. These are all human rights. to health and well-being. And if we work collectively together, we can achieve this. I'd like to introduce two of our amazing teachers, Ben Harrison, who is our lead physical education teacher. Come on in, Ben.
Hi, everyone.
And Ben can talk more about how students interact with the space with regards to physical development. And then Alexandra Scarlett will talk about how our students interact with the space with regards to eco-friendliness and the development of the space as an ecological site for our community. So I'll turn it over to Ben and then Alex.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the physical literacies that we're seeing on our playground, on our Evergreen space as the physical education teacher, just what we're able to use. We do have a field that's in the space, but we also have an amazing parkour area, as Cheryl mentioned, that encourages climbing and taking risks, which is something that we're seeing students do more and more of, that they do now that they did not do before. And that can range from grades 1 to 8, where students are engaging with the space and they're learning about risky play. So they're working on those skills that I like to see as a physical education teacher, the climbing, the jumping, the running, all those things that are going to be able to be transferred to other activities that we do later on. And of course, having the field, we're able to play games just like at any other school, but we have that space beside us where we're playing soccer on one area, and there's also students who are climbing and jumping and having a great time. So it's such a great space, not only for all the initiatives that Cheryl mentioned, but it's also inclusive of physical education and just having a sense of play, which is awesome. Thank you. I'm going to turn over to Alexandra Scarlett, talk about our eco team.
Hi, everyone. I run our Eco Schools team at Irma Coulson, and it's been such a joy to see the students get so involved in our space and really taking advantage of all the opportunities that we have with it. So to name a few projects that we've been working on, one of the largest projects we've been working on this year is building awareness around the space. So when the space was built, it was constructed, the plants and the living matter that is within it was chosen very specially for the space, with native plants that will grow to be giving shade to students during recess. But of course, that takes time, and we don't get to see this for years to come. So to build awareness for the students at Irma Coulson, we've created a system. Students created a slide deck and showed pictures of plants at full maturity, so they could get a really good idea, because right now they're just seeing sticks in the ground and some small bushes here and there. And they don't really have that connection to it. So to build that connection, we've created this slide deck and a more permanent thing that will be part of the space, but this is a temporary solution. We've created these. I don't know if you can kind of see them. So they're numbered off, and the plants in the space have been numbered, and people of the community can come around with their phones, as most people have access, and they can scan the QR code and access this slide deck that has numbered slides for all of the different plants. So families can walk around and learn more about what is in our space and what it's going to become, so they can really create with their imagination how beautiful the space is going to become. Mind you, it already is very beautiful, but it is very interesting to see what will be there, and really just allowing students to have a connection to native plants, to our area. It goes with animals as well. We can name a lot that don't live around our area, but really knowing what is in our backyard, it really gets kids excited to go outside and to explore. Our Eco Club is planning to do a lot of planting in the next coming months to create this food garden, to plant more native plants, and to really get us super excited to be in this space more than we already are, and to build learning opportunities for classes, but families to come during the summer and really just continue to use the space. That was the point when it was created, that it would provide the community with opportunities to use it as well, and just making it a really special sanctuary for for the residents in this area. So I'll pass it over to Cheryl again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben and Alex. I really like that word in special sanctuary for our community, and just building physical activity skills that can be transferred into other areas of life. So that is what we have to share with you. And so I'll turn it back to our moderator.
Yeah, thank you all very much for that wonderful presentation. It was really great to hear kind of some of the details around what you've been working on at your school. So I'll open the floor up to questions now, but I can kick off with a few of my own. I'm wondering if you would be able to share with us some of the challenges or barriers that you've run into in the development of getting to where you are today with this space.
Well, for us, it was really the restriction that we had with regards to spaces for students to use to play. So while the site was under construction, that limited us to space that we could actually use at recess time, before and after school. So we really relied on our neighboring schools to support us with big scale activities that we had to run. And then our students were very patient, as well as the staff, to tolerate small spaces for play, because they knew they were going to end up with an amazing space at the end of this construction process. So that was one challenge.
Yeah, totally. I think just being creative with the waiting game, right? And we knew this was eventually going to occur, but in the meantime, how without a field, how are we going to keep our 1,000 students busy and occupied at nutrition break or recess time? So we had to really be creative with our neighboring schools, as Cheryl mentioned, with using a parking lot. Like, we were down to reduced parking so that the students could actually play in that area, which was safe. And just pretty much that was the main struggle, was waiting and making sure everyone was still moving, but it took a bit of time. But now that it's ready, we're super excited. But that was my main challenge for sure, and I think Cheryl too, as a principal.
Yeah, and it sounds like some of the solutions to the playing the waiting game, you guys came up with really creative solutions, like having those slide decks to teach the students about, it looks like a pile of dirt right now, but in 3 months, this is what we could have living here. So that was really neat to hear about. I'm also wondering if you could share how much of the work that goes into the garden is also just spending time educating the students about what the space is going to be and what is expected of them in that space as well.
Yeah, so the garden is open to anyone in the school. If there's ever a teacher that wants to take it on, they're more than welcome to bring their class in. And I know that there are so many educators in the school that are really passionate about the environment and outdoor education. Currently, so I am the eco club head, but there is also a co-lead, and she does the gardening portion of the club. So she's been, as Ms. Hales had mentioned, that she's showing the process of the germinating seeds, and really just talking about the process and how, you know, sometimes it will work out and other times it won't, and what you can expect from that process and how long it will take. So really an open inquiry for students to ask questions, but also have the guidance of someone who is so passionate about it and so knowledgeable. So it really is open to, the Eco Club is open to everyone in the school, but classes have taken on projects themselves as well. So it's kind of self-led based on the class's needs.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. We do have a question in the chat. So do you know if other schools are creating similar climate ready schools on their grounds based on your experience? Are you aware of any?
We are a one of in Canada. We're the only one at the moment with this scale of a design space to respond to interrupt climate change. The Halton District School Board is very committed to the Sustainable Development Goals. So there are other projects that are happening around the board in other schools, but on a smaller scale. So at the moment, we are the only one. but lessons learned throughout this process are being replicated in at other sites on a smaller scale.
Very exciting. I'm sure your school will receive a lot of inquiries in the coming years to see kind of what steps you've taken to achieve what you have. So on that note, I'm wondering if you'd be able to share for anybody watching that might be thinking about creating a similar space. If you had to do it all over again and start from scratch, is there anything that you do differently with the green space with the knowledge that you have now?
Well, we have a team, so I'm just one member of that team to be involved in this whole process. For us as a school board, it starts with our superintendent of facilities and the grant application. And I know Ben's partner, who has moved on to another school, was very involved in the application, the grant application process. So it involves a lot of people from a lot of different areas within the board to bring this all together. And of course, the amazing partnership that we have with Evergreen. So it is a collaborative project that I can provide insight into how this looks for our site and our community, but it is a larger process that involves the board and the application process and the partnership with Evergreen.
Yeah, I would echo that, and just not having a global pandemic during the construction process would also help for next time. But obviously we had no control over that, and just I think we did a good job of involving a lot of stakeholders, but just maybe brainstorming who else can we bring to the table with these ideas. But I think I would do that again in terms of the parents, the students, the staff. Maybe we could explore who else can we bring to the table for ideas.
No, that's great. Another question that we have in the chat is asking who will be stewarding the green space over the summer when school is out?
Well, it is that education piece, and it is that partnership piece. So we educate our school communities, and we bring in stakeholders who are members of the community. So our parent community, along with our students here, will be the stewards of the space during the summer when we're not on site. Part of the work that we've been doing is to build a sense of belonging within our community, not only for the climate ready space, but our entire school community as a whole. And once that sense of belonging has been heightened, then the stewardship happens naturally because people are invested and they feel like this is their school community.
Of course, no, that's great. I do have another question that would maybe be a bit more for some educators here. So have you seen an increased interest with either people wanting to be outside more, so maybe from a physical education perspective, or more of an interest in natural sciences, just because due to increased exposure from being able to be around plants and be around biodiversity and wildlife? So I'm wondering, on both of those kind of sides of the spectrum, have you seen more interest from the students in getting involved in other activities that are similar to this?
Yeah, so I mean, I can speak from experience even from today in my teaching. So I'm teaching rocks and minerals right now. It is a lot cooler to go look at rocks on a field that has so many different dimensions, so many different elements to it than a space that's just a soccer field, right? So there's so much more diversity, and there might be remainder from the construction, and so many questions come up from that. I find it's a lot more exciting for them to get out there. Of course, we do all notice that kids love going outside. They really do. But I think it just makes it a little bit more diverse for all different types of learners. So, you have your typical athletes that want to play soccer, they want to play basketball, they want to do all those kind of games. But then there's also students that they do love being outside, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to play a sport. So maybe they want to have some quiet moments, and the variety of spaces that we have. It is really it really is catered to every type of person. And I think that they've all kind of found their spot where they want to be, and they love going out there and being there.
That's really great. Thank you for sharing that. And I have another question. If there aren't any others in the chat, maybe this could be a final question, is what are your plans for the green space from here? So where do you see this green space evolving to in the next couple of years?
Well, we're excited to watch this develop. Right now, our shrubs are small. And so we recognize that there are areas that we'll need to fill in. And so just watching the evolution of the plants, how they mature to the point where the trees provide a canopy for shade, where the shrubs provide food for the wildlife, where the garden becomes truly a sustainable food source for the community over the summer months. And so just the development of the ecology of the space, which happens with time, contribution of nature, and the stewardship of the land. So it is the continued engagement and the watching of the development and growth of the plants and creatures in the space.
Yeah, that's really great. And I'm sure that will be incredibly rewarding to see how that kind of matures over the next couple of months, and then the next couple of years when wildlife begins to kind of reclaim the space a little bit. That'll be very exciting, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again so much for coming to chat with us today. This will be available on our website, and it really is a really valuable resource for a lot of people that are interested in starting greener green spaces. And it's just a really valuable resource for our Greener Greenspace recipients to be able to share their experiences and reach out to others that are kind of working towards similar like-minded goals. So we really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. It is much appreciated, and it was really great to learn more about your climate ready space and how children are kind of interacting with these green spaces. That was really lovely to hear.
Thank you for inviting us. Take care. We enjoyed being here. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much. You too. Take care. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again. Thanks again for doing this.